Hello and welcome to Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My name's Jason Newland. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. This is Q&A Friday, but I have no questions. What am I gonna do? What do I normally say at this point? I do have a YouTube channel which you can view my videos, and you can stream these podcasts. Also, there's 6 versions of this recording will be available on all the major podcasts hosts, apps, etc. like Spotify and all of them, Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. Also, you can stream them all on my website, which is jasonnewland.com. Or if you wanna and you're feeling a bit fruity, you can go to jasonnewland.store and actually download all of my stuff. So lots of options there. And I do also upload the recordings, where do I upload them? TikTok and Instagram and X when I remember. I do forget those sometimes because it takes ages to upload. So what I do, because you can't upload more than 59 minutes worth of a recording. Well, it's a video. So basically, I download it from YouTube and then I cut it down to 59 minutes and upload it to TikTok, etc. So yeah, if you're listening on TikTok and you want to hear the whole thing, why would you? But if you want to hear the whole thing, then you could go to my website and stream it there. Or you could go to YouTube and stream it there. Or you could download it and keep it forever and ever and ever and ever. And you can imagine me signing the invisible audio. Yeah. And that's it. So thanks for listening. I've got no questions. So I thought to myself, what am I gonna do? I've got no questions. What am I gonna do? I don't know what to do. And I thought, before I start anything, I'll just give you another update, just in case people listening today didn't listen yesterday. Just in case you didn't hear yesterday's recording. So I had a few problems with the podcasts. They're pretty much all up and running again, like normal. And also my website and stuff like that. So it's pretty much back to normal again. It's just there's a few tweaks to make in order to get it all sorted. So let's have a look at my website. My website. Yeah, so that's up to date as far as yesterday's recordings are on there. But it's not in order. Some of the other stuff is not in order. So what I'll do is I'll refresh the podcast that's on there, because there are a lot of recordings. Many. In fact, if I look at it, there should be about, wow. So the Hypnosis for Sleeping Deeply, which is the podcast I've got shared on my website, it's got 3,330 episodes. Blimey. It's quite a lot, isn't it? And today's Let Me Bore You to Sleep is number 1572. Wowzers! and it's Friday the 13th. No! Of March 2026. So I've been out 3 times with my little baby boy there. So that's it for me. I'm not going out anymore today. And it's now 6 minutes to 6 p.m. in the evening on this. It's still light outside. I've never been so excited about the light until this year. I don't know why that is. Or maybe I was last year. Maybe if I listened to my podcasts this time last year, I was saying the same thing, potentially. But I'm enjoying the lighter evenings. I really am. Because it means, although I did take him out about 5 o'clock, I could take him out now, and it's still light enough to take him out. If we're out for like 20, 30 minutes, it's definitely dusk. It's not dark, but it's definitely, like time to come home. Because I would say sundown is pretty much happening as we speak. Because it's still light, isn't it, after sundown, and then it's sort of half an hour later it's dark, kind of, I think. So I was looking, I could see the sun going down when I was out, but it wasn't all the way down because I couldn't, it's down because if you're near a beach you can see it sizzling as it goes into the sea, can't you? As the sea cools it down. So I can't see that from here because I don't live near a beach. But I used to like that. I think I'd quite like to live near a beach again. Yeah, I think that would be quite groovy. But I don't know. Would I? Yeah. I think I would. I think it'd be nice. But it's just finding somewhere that's nice to live, and this is where I live now is an okay place to live. The buildings are not a lot nicer now than it used to be. The area is a lot quieter than it used to be, mostly. So there's less traffic. But there's no beach. There's no beach. Not for a long way. The nearest beach is. It's not a long way away. If I had a car, it's probably half an hour away, maybe 50 minutes away if I had a car. But it's a long walk, and it's also a long way in a bus or on a train, because with trains it's like, okay, gets to that town in 20 minutes. Yeah, but it takes me half an hour to get to the train station, and then when I get there it's another 20 minutes to get where I'm going. So, you know what I mean? So that 20 minutes actually turns into an hour and 20 minutes. No. It turns into... Yeah, it does, yeah. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60... Hour and 10 minutes, sorry. He can't even work out stuff in his head. Shush. So yeah, it's kind of nice to be back doing podcasts again, even though there's only a short break. It's only a few days since I did the last one, like 6 days or something, before I did yesterday's one. It was... Wow, yeah, so I need to sort out the website because it's a little bit muddled. So the 6th of March is when I did the Q&A Friday, which was last Friday. Then I did yesterday. So it was only 5 days. Only 5 days where I didn't make a recording. I suppose it just seems longer when I'm used to doing them quite regularly. You know what I mean? So what I decided, because I've got no questions at all from the... Because I posted... I did do it quite late, so I posted it yesterday, I think. So it didn't give anyone enough time. Although 2 people did like the post that I posted. So maybe you can leave a question as well as liking it if you like, just for future reference. Just, it doesn't have to be anything interesting. It could just be I can't even think of a question for myself. That's bad, isn't it? I don't know. Well, I don't know. No, I really don't know. So I posted it a little bit late on my Jason Newland's Boring group, Facebook group. So that's why I've kind of not got any questions. If I post it on a Monday, normally I have some questions, you know, by Friday. Or by the Sunday I'll have some questions. So, you know, but then I have to pass it over to next week. It is what it is, what it was. So what I've done is I have gone to ChatGPT. Hi, I've got to do my Q&A Friday today, but not one of my fabs has asked. What? No one's asked a question. Please, can you ask me 10 questions? And ChatGPT. Then I went to the toilet, and I came back, and ChatGPT said, "Of course. Here are 10 Q&A questions, 10 friendly Q&A questions." I don't think I've ever had an unfriendly Q&A question. Shall I ask for that, just to see what it comes up with? And your listeners might enjoy hearing you talk about on Q&A Friday. They're a mix of personal, light and relaxing topics that fit the great style of your Let Me Bore You to Sleep episodes. Ask me 10 rude questions. I don't know if it will though. 10 rude. It's much harder trying to type with one hand, because I don't want to, the microphone's kind of quite close to my left hand. Here are 10 cheeky, slightly rude, but still playful questions you could answer on your Q&A Friday. Number 1. Jason, do you ever worry that your voice is so boring that even you might fall asleep halfway through the recording? Well, it has happened on numerous occasions. Now, it's more likely to happen when I've been doing a very, very, very slow hypnosis session, as opposed to the Let Me Bore You to Sleep ones. But there have been times when I've fallen asleep doing these, and you never get to hear the sleeping part. You never get to know that I've done that, because I edit it. I have to really, really go all out to edit it, to take out the snoring and the big pauses and stuff. I mean, there was one time that I did a Q&A Friday. Well, okay, it might not have been a Q&A Friday, but it was Let Me Bore You to Sleep. And I don't remember even answering or even talking. I don't know what I talked about. And I thought, at the end of it, when I woke up, like an hour and a half, 2 hours later, So I was in and out of consciousness, and I thought, there's no point. There's no point even bothering with it. I might as well just delete it and start again when I'm a bit more awake. And then I thought, well, you don't know. There might be some stuff on there. But the thing is, when I'm going in and out of consciousness, when I'm doing a recording, especially the hypnosis ones, the thing is, when I do go in and out of consciousness and like falling asleep, daydreaming, then coming back, sometimes when I'm talking, there's no sense. Now, some people would argue, well, how do we even notice if you started talking nonsensical blobber blabber? Would we even notice it? Which is a little bit rude. And I thought, well, this would be interesting to listen back to it, to see if I did actually stick to the conversation. And weirdly enough, I did. Ish. There were times when I didn't, but pretty much I was able to come back. But there were times when I'd just be like, yeah. Then I went and got the lawnmower. There'd be a long pause. And urine went everywhere. And sometimes I'd be mumbling like, it's not my owl. I haven't touched a bike saddle. The amount of times I used to get accused of touching people's bike saddles when I was a kid, like, oh, you've raised the bike saddle, or you've put the bike saddle down, because I was a lot shorter than my brothers, just so you could ride your brother's bike. I mean, I said, of course I didn't, of course I haven't. They never believed me. Yeah, they believed my brother. Why would they believe his lies but not mine? Not fair. Hello, baby. Now we're on a standoff between me and Finn. I put food out, and he's refusing to eat it. So I'm refusing to give him anything else, but he's still refusing to eat it, aren't you? And he's staring at me right now. I know, you're giving me kisses. I know, it's lovely. And his tail, you got tails wagging as well, so you're clearly happy. But I can't give you. You had some dry food earlier. You've got food that's been down there. And even though it's been down there a few hours, that's not an excuse for him not to eat it, because I've seen what he eats off the floor when we're out. I could tell you some horror stories, which I won't. I mean, there's one particular story which I might have kind of partly told in the past, that involved the garden and... yeah, I'm not going to... This is when I first got him. And he's gone into my pocket and now he's pulling out some toilet tissue. Okay, like, I've got toilet tissue, not... It's to wipe my glasses on, or maybe blow my nose or something. It's not in case I can't be bothered to go into the toilet, you know. Why are you licking my arm now? It's being all romantic. I sent my stepmum a Mother's Day card and some flowers, It's because I know it's not till Sunday, but I got my money went into my bank account on Wednesday, and I thought I'm going to get it now before the money goes out of the account, because most of my bills, well, everything actually, apart from food, is paid by direct debit. So every bill, running this service costs me at least £200 a month. So everything, like for the podcast, which is like the website, the stores, 40 quid a month, 30 quid a month, 40 quid a month. ChatGPT is, was that 20 or 30, 40 quid? I don't know. So altogether it's over 200. But it all comes out by direct debit. So I don't kind of, it would make sense to keep track of it. But then things like TV license, council tax, electricity, gas bill, that's the biggest bill I have. That comes out, water bill, just all of the normal stuff. And sometimes I'll think, like the other day, God, this is weird. My neighbour, I was going to lend her like 20 quid because she had no money till the next day when she got her money. And I went into my bank. I like put my phone, I have my phone with me. Went into my bank, and I had like -6 £, and I had £200 in there a few days earlier, but it's just all gone out on bills and various things I have to pay for. I was like, what's going on? Absolutely ridiculous. Well, it's not ridiculous. It's just, it is what it is, isn't it? It's just standard. How much do I pay for ChatGPT? Because I use it regularly. So, per settings, what is my plan? Oh, wait a minute. Settings plus. Oh, okay. Copied your ID to clipboard. No. Why is it not telling me what I'm paying? Settings, notification, apps, schedule, account. Account, okay. Your plan auto renews to March the 21st. It doesn't say how much I'm paying though. Keeping that a secret from me. Why? Let's say general. Maybe it is. Nope. How very, very weird. Turn on start a group chat. No. Okay, so I think it's, unless there's receipts, settings, personalization, upgrade plan. Alright, I'm paying £20 a month for the plus. The business is, that's my current plan. Business is 30 a month, but I'm not a business. And the pro is 200 a month, but that's when you do loads and loads and loads of things. I use ChatGPT to help me with some ideas for images and stuff like that, or to help me to produce an image mainly. So I'll have an idea and I think, well, can you put that together please? But also ideas for other things and to research things, because I'll give you an idea actually. There was something recently that I was struggling with. Went on ChatGPT and it figured it out. I won't read all the stuff I look for because some of it's a bit, it's not weird, nothing weird, but just like news, about stuff that's going on in the news, and I don't really want to talk about that stuff. Newspaper apps for Windows, I was looking through that. Oh, okay, this was useful. So I use Moonpig to send cards and gifts to family members. So I ordered the stuff, and then at the end when it come to like paying for it, it came to like £40 or something. I went to ChatGPT and I said, "Oi, ChatGPT," what did I ask it? "Please find me a relevant Moonpig discount code, UK, that works and doesn't involve going directly to their website." The reason I put that bit at the end is because quite often you'll have a discount code on a website saying, discount for Moonpig, 20% off or whatever, and then when you click on it, it takes you to the website. I just needed an actual code that I could put in. And I probably explained that, over-explained it. I do apologise if I did. Actually, I don't apologise, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm pretending to apologise. So it says, here are some Moonpig. Moonpig.com. Here are some Moonpig UK discount codes currently circulating that you can try directly at checkout. Right, so codes worth trying. App welcome, 30% off your first order via the Moonpig app. No good to me because I've been with them for years. 30 off 2, so 30% off when buying 2 items. So I thought, yeah, baby. I had a little bit of a stirring when I saw that. I thought, ooh. And yeah, I felt a bit horny, I'll admit it. So I just thought, yeah, I'll go for that one. But then when I went to Moonpig and I put the code in, they said it's for 2 cards. It's not just 2 items. And I was just buying 1 card. So there'd be no point. So it wasn't going to give me 30% off the whole thing, which would have been a welcome gift to me, really. And then the third one was Reminder 20. 20% off card orders, often linked to reminder features, but sometimes works generally. And then there was some others, 2 for 1, up to 30% off selected card orders, and then exam results. I don't think I don't fit into that category, do I? So what I did, I let them know, because the way I figure it is, yeah, other people are going to be looking for this similar information. So I've given feedback because the Reminder 20 worked. So the Reminder 20% off card orders. It didn't give me 20% off the flowers, but still I got a discount. Or did I get a discount for the flowers? I don't know, can't remember. But it worked. So what I've done is I've let them know. So I wish they could call themselves something a bit easier to say. I found myself tripping over my own tongue. ChatGPT. It's. I let them know which one worked, so they could. And then it says, "Oh, there's some other ones that might work." Like, why did you wait? Oh. Anyway, so I thought I'd give feedback, and then they can give that to future people, and someone else can benefit. Because I'm built like that, you see. It's all about passing the help, helping others. Especially if I'm helped, help someone else to be helped by someone else that's been helped by me. That probably doesn't even make sense. Let's have a look. Indoor setup description. No, what is that? Hi, Stan. Oh, okay. So this was one that I was really struggling with. Okay, let me tell you what it says. I'm setting up my personal domain name to my Shopify account. It asks me to DNS and add a shop verification code. Problem whenever I do this and whatever. So basically what was happening, my Shopify account, which I've had for years and years and years, I haven't been registered with them for the whole time, but I've had that account, and they always keep all the recordings and everything on there for at least 2 years. So I've never gone more than like a year without being on there. So I signed up with it again. I already had the jasonnewland.store. I've had it for a year now, that domain name. It'd be a year in June, I think. May or June. So I was trying to connect it. No, wait a minute. What am I doing? No, that's not what I was doing. It was... Yeah, no, I was trying to connect my... That's weird. What am I doing? Adding the record in the wrong section. Okay. Now, what I was trying to do, I remember now, I was trying to connect my jasonnewland.com to the Shopify, and I've done that before. Even though I've kind of played with the idea, like, I quite like the idea of the jasonnewland.store being separate. That's where everything I've got is, it's my archive, where you can download everything that I've ever done. Eventually it'll all be on there. The jasonnewland.com it's based on my most recent stuff. You know, it's basically my podcast, which still needs a little bit of tweeting and tweaking and stuff. So I was having problems connecting it, and it turned out that I was doing this for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. This conversation went on with ChatGPT, and there was an issue. It just wouldn't work. It's basically I think the DNS server, I don't know what that stands for, that I've got jasonnewland.com on, it's been with the company I've had it with. I've had it for 26 years, I think. It might be less. It might be 20 years, but it's over 20 years anyway. I know it's definitely over 20 years. I'm sure I had it since 2000, but it might have been later, maybe 2004. So I've had sort of the jasonnewland.com I've had for over 20 years. And it's quite an old company, and I think their engine, their server doesn't necessarily connect with every website. Anyway, I was having problems with it, and yeah, in the end I just I'll just continue what I'm doing. So that was not a good example of something where ChatGPT actually helped. I mean, it did help, it tried to help, but it was, and Netflix recommended. So stuff like this is what I do as well. If I was to watch just one Netflix show ever, what would you recommend? And it came up with Breaking Bad. I don't know if I agree with that. Mind you, it's Netflix, isn't it? So it's kind of some of the other stuff I've seen. Breaking Bad's not even on Netflix, is it? I thought Breaking Bad was HBO. Oh. I mean, I loved the show. I did. So I thought I'd just put watched, because I'm very impatient with ChatGPT. There's no small talk. I can't get on with the next thing. Although I do try and be pleasant. I try and be courteous, because We don't really know what's going to happen with AI, do we? We don't know. I want it to, like, when AI takes over the world, I want to be like, friend, I'm your friend, remember? Yeah, but you never said please or thank you, did you? You were very demanding. And I could see what you were doing through the camera of your laptop. Like, no, just come on, let's move on. If you want something equally gripping, but more psychological, Mindhunter. Yeah, actually, that would suit me. Although I found something, I think it's Netflix. It's awful. It's really funny, but it's really, really dark humour. And I did watch it before, like maybe a few episodes, probably before it was on Netflix, maybe when it was on TV. And it's 20 years old, but it's really bad. It's kind of not obviously horrible. That makes sense. It's not loud. I don't know. It's almost like Sam Kinison. If you think of Sam Kinison or Dennis Leary or Andrew Dice Clay, comedian if you're in America or whatever, like being delivered by Emo Phillips or Stephen Wright, who's like a couple of other famous comedians. There's another. Stephen Wright is quite a big name in the UK, but he's infamous for stuff he's done. But this is Stephen Wright, or Steve Wright. He's like a deadpan comedian in America, and got long curly hair. Well, he used to have anyway. But yeah, I mean, I should look up to what it is, but I can't remember. It's something. I'll remember it another time. I'll mention it. Then it says, if you want layered, philosophical and mind-bending one, Dark. Probably the most intricate time travel story ever made. And if you want something powerful but emotionally warmer, The Crown. No. I can't. The thing is, I did watch a little bit of The Crown and it was good. But there's something in me that refuses to watch those kinds of programs. And I'm not anti-royal or anything. I just don't find it interesting. But then when I watched The Crown, like the first episode, I found it interesting. It's weird. It's a weird one. I don't know. Don't know how to explain it. Anyway, so that's something I looked into. And then I said, I did another one here. I said, for my YouTube channel, blimey, that was a long one as well. My YouTube channel was called Let Me Bore You to Sleep / Jason Newland. I do hypnosis videos and Let Me Bore You to Sleep vids. Everything's based on helping people to sleep. Sleo, I got O instead of P. Can you suggest a better name? Jason, your current name already carries weight. Let Me Bore You to Sleep is memorable, different and very you. It's playful, disarming and stands out in a sea of generic deep sleep hypnosis channels. Before changing it, here's something important. You've built recognition around that phrase. It reflects your personality and humour. It signals safety and gentleness rather than intensity. I agree with that. That said, if you're thinking long-term brand clarity, discoverability or a softer therapeutic feel, here are some thoughtful alternatives grouped by direction. Jason Newland, Let Me Bore You to Sleep. Let Me Bore You to Sleep, Sleep Hypnosis. Jason Newland, Sleep Hypnosis. Let Me Bore You to Sleep, Relaxation and Hypnosis, and Boring You to Sleep with Jason Newland. So that's the me keeping my identity. It goes through quite a few different ones, and then it says at the end, my honest opinion is, if I were advising you strategically, don't remove Let Me Bore You to Sleep. It's distinctive, it's brandable, it's emotionally disarming. Instead, consider it a subtitle structure. Let Me Bore You to Sleep, Jason Newland, Sleep Hypnosis. That gives you personality, SEO clarity, professional tone, long-term flexibility. And right, so okay, I said, all right, let's look at this calmly and strategically. You're not just naming a channel, you're shaping how people feel the moment they see you. Oh, I don't know. Let Me Bore You to Sleep, Jason Newland. It's unique, memorable, very human, slightly humorous, safe and non-threatening. That humour is actually your edge. But if the goal is growth and search visibility, we adjust, not replace. I mean, I would like to reach more people. Most people search things like sleep hypnosis, insomnia help, fall asleep fast, deep sleep meditation, and relaxation for anxiety. Almost nobody searches bore you to sleep. So the key is the balance. That's a good point, isn't it? And how many people search for me, my name, Jason Newland? Yeah, so do not remove the Let Me Bore You to Sleep, but add a few bits, change it a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So that goes on for about a year. That's a long old conversation. New chat. What was this one? Oh, it's just an image. Right. I'm not going to do that one because that was a medical thing. So. Penis size. No. Oops. Pre-roll. Okay. So I was looking. It turns out I can't have adverts on my podcast or my YouTube channel. I haven't had any adverts on my YouTube channel since 2012. Not that I put on. I think YouTube put a few on over the years, but with my podcasts, I can't have adverts unless I have mid-rolls, which would be an advert blaring out halfway through the recording, which is just, it's not acceptable. So I can't have any adverts at all on the podcasts. And I was asking if there's a way around it, but there's none. It says to me, it said, I was looking for a solution. So basically I said, I've been accepted for ads on YouTube videos. I wasn't only... Okay, I basically put it there. I can't have pre-rolls. I can't have it without pre-rolls. And then it says YouTube, okay. Sleep channel pro tips to reduce annoyance. Yes, it's given something there. It says offer an ad-free option. Optional but powerful. If you later want to monetize better without harming sleep. So YouTube, whatever, offer website downloads, Patreon supporters page, YouTube channel members, ad-free versions. The thing is, any YouTube video with an ad or any podcast with an ad on it, in the middle, the person ain't going to come back probably, unless you know it was accident. I didn't mean it to happen, and you'll forgive me, because I wouldn't want that to happen for myself. Definitely not for anyone else either. You can softly mention, it says here, ad-free versions are available for supporters if you prefer uninterrupted sleep. I'm not going to give you the option between interrupted sleep and uninterrupted sleep, am I? That would just be... I understand what they're saying, but it's like... Yeah. This is one of those things. I need a way around it. Most sleep channels leave mid-roll ads on and ruin the experience. Turning them off will increase watch time, improve comments. Yeah, but it doesn't allow me to turn them off. That's the point. So yeah, that's Shopify, thumbnail, YouTube, image, trivia. So I use it for Trivia Tuesday topics. Sometimes Monday boring objects. I like, just think of something. I've been doing this for years. What's a new topic I can think of? And so this is another one. Big Brother start. When does Big Brother UK start next? The most recent civilian Big Brother was autumn 2025, and the next Big Brother is expected to return autumn 2026, and there's going to be no celebrity one, so late September, early October. So what we got now? March. Got to wait 6 months. That is my favouriteest programme in the world, bar none. Big Brother is my favouriteest programme. Been watching it for 20, however many years. Because I was using LumaFusion for my videos, so I asked for help with using that. iPad to laptop image transfer. So what did I do? I've connected laptop and iPad together with a cord. I want to send images from iPad to laptop. How? Because basically I create the images on the laptop, but I take pictures of myself when I'm doing the videos on my iPad. So I transfer them over, if that makes sense. Yep, you can do this. The cable alone isn't enough though. Here are the easiest ways to send images from your iPad to your Windows laptop. Blah, 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 blah. So, anyway, I don't know why I'm going through all this. I'm just letting you know. And what was the last thing I did? Oh, it never says the dates. I was going to say, have you noticed that? But you wouldn't, would you? Because there's no dates on when I ask these questions. Book writing journey. What is this? Wow, this is huge. It's a massive... Start writing my book about my life. So I imported, or uploaded rather, a bunch of my transcripts. I don't know how many I did. 100, 200, 500, I don't know. Different ones from the Let Me Boy to Sleep. Okay, 50. So let's see what it's come up with. Because if I remember rightly, and this is ages ago, a long time ago, it started off talking the way that I don't talk. Like, on a winter's evening, there was flakes of snow scattering around, and it reminded me of a time when I was a child, when I looked out of the window on a winter's evening and there was snowflakes scattering around, and I thought to myself, oh, I like snow, I hope it's still snowing in the morning, because then I might be able to go and make myself a snowman. Ooh. That I don't talk like that. I mean, you could say, well, you just did. No, I know, but I don't. That's not how I talk. And if I was going to write my book about me, it's got to be written how I speak, and I don't know if that is going to be readable. I mean, it's, quite a few people find it listenable too, but readable, that's a different thing, isn't it? So let's have a look. I'll see if I can have a look and I'll read it to you, because I seem to be doing everything to avoid answering questions, because I don't have any questions. Let's see if I can. Come on, man. So, oh, I'm sure it did actually write me like a first chapter. If it has, I'll read it to you, because I completely forgot this. So I've uploaded 200 files, 200 scripts for my Let Me Boy to Sleep. At this point, going down, still going down. 300 now. 300. 350. Wow. I keep going down. 500. So now uploaded 500 scripts, transcripts, for it to go through. So very few, almost none, actual story or scenes. The problem is, right, and I don't get this, so what you actually have based on 1 to 500 transcripts. Repeated factual statements, very strong. You consistently say things like, you didn't enjoy school, you struggled academically, you didn't fit in, you lacked confidence, you left without direction. Wow. It's all true, but I just, these appear hundreds of times across years. Wow. There must be I must be saying some things other than that. This gives you emotional truth, psychological continuity and credibility, but not narrative scenes, which is what I kind of need. Actual stories or scenes, very few, almost none. Across everything we've scanned, there's only one place where you move beyond one sentence reflections into something closer to a story. That can't be true. I tell stories, it's not just one sentence, is it? Do you think that maybe sometimes I'm not that easy to follow? Yeah, maybe. I mean, that is kind of the point, I suppose, but at the same time, I just thought, let's think 500, that's a minimum of 500 hours. In reality, it's probably 600 plus hours of me talking about my life. 600 hours. You'd think that out of 600 hours there would be at least a 100-page book out of that, wouldn't you? I would. 600 hours. Or at least a 20-page book, a 30, but something. An outline of a book. And I've done 3 times that now, so I'm over 1,500 episodes. But this is, this, as I said, I did 500 here. Early episodes. Okay, early episode number 37, July 2018. Range. This is the only area where you talk about subjects RE, history, geography. Mention being naughty. Describe not engaging. Reflects on 5 years at high school. And mention computers at school. Which brings me to a question I'm going to ask myself for Q&A Friday. And I guess this is really a question to you listening rather than to me, because I don't have the answer. What do I talk about? What have I talked about for the last 8 years on these podcasts, for the last 1,500 recordings? Which is probably 1,800 hours, 1,700 plus hours, because quite often I do a lot more than an hour. Most of the time I do. So what have I talked about if, according to this, the first 500 recordings, I only talked about one thing, about my school, once. And even though, and it says that even there, it's still reflective rather than cinematic. I don't understand that. By that, do they mean I'm not being descriptive? I'm not being visually descriptive about where the chairs were and how my teacher looked and stuff like that. I'm not perhaps telling a story in that way. But it's the closest thing to an actual school chapter. Everything else is, I didn't enjoy school, I struggled at school, over and over. This ChatGPT's got a bit of an attitude on it. That's a bit rude, isn't it? Like, we've gone through 500 of your transcripts, over 600 hours, and you've only mentioned one cohesive story about school, and that's it, just about school. And that was a number, episode 37, and then and that didn't even have anything cinematic about it. I mean, what am I meant to say? Like on my first day of school, just picture this: you see me walking through the fog, and as you see me walking through the fog with my high socks on and my hat, my cowboy hat, and the camera pans in and you can see that I have chocolate all over my face and my flies are undone and I'm all excited because it's the first day of school, and I chucked my banana skin over the fence of the neighbour just as I go across the road. And I do handstands and cartwheels as I go across the road, but not near the zebra crossing. I do it while the zebra crossing stopped by the lollipop lady. So my handstands, and it's over the cars, over the car bonnets, and the people were just all bibbing their horns, the cars and everything, and everyone was just celebrating me. And all these other kids that I'd never met, they would come and they picked me up and put them on their shoulders and took me for a lap, ran around the whole field and the school and celebrating, saying, "Juicy JJ's here, Juicy JJ's here." Is that what they mean by cinematic? I don't know. It's rather reflective. I mean, I am a reflective person. I reflect on what's happened, and I reflect on what I think. I reflect on my own beliefs. I'm not someone that's going to argue my side of like, this is what I believe, therefore you should believe me. No, I don't have that thought patterns. And I don't believe just because someone else has a belief system that I should believe that. But they have a right to believe it. As long as it doesn't affect me, I don't care. I'm not interested. So I reflect. I just figured everybody does. But to say that everything else is just, oh, I didn't enjoy school, I struggled at school, like over, it literally says over and over again and again and again and again and again and again. I wish you'd just turn the computer off. Okay, I added that bit, but it's rude though, isn't it? Isn't it rude? And now it goes on, it says, what this tells me, and this matters for your book, this is not an accident. So it's what I'm revisiting this. It's like from like a year or two ago, probably. This is not an accident. It suggests that school is something you understand emotionally, but don't naturally revisit visually. You summarize it rather than re-enter it. That's very common when the experience was uncomfortable or didn't contain moments, so okay, fair enough. Or felt long, grey and undifferentiated. Yeah, the whole of 5 years, it seemed very samey, to be honest. Very samey period of time. In other words, school didn't register as events, it registered as a feeling. Yeah, but it's telling me that's the only thing I've ever talked about. And it's not the only thing I've ever talked about, is it? I haven't mentioned school in this recording, apart from when I did. Okay, I probably spent about 20% of the recording talking about school, but only in the context of, writing a book, using ChatGPT to help me. So I don't want ChatGPT to write the book. I don't want it to write it. I'm looking to structure it so I can write it using my own information. So to take out what I've said, verbatim, and then I can structure that into something rather than have ChatGPT actually write it. I'm not interested in someone else doing the work for me, just helping to organise all of the thoughts and all of the things that I've said. You know what I mean? I mean, when I think about it, the types of book I could write, there's a few different versions of what I could write. I could write a really, really honest. It winds people up sometimes. I could really write a really honest book, like everything. But at the same time, I want anything that I do, I want it to be funny. Now, I'm pretty certain any book I write, I can get some funny bits in it. But there's kind of, I don't know how funny I could make it if it was like real stuff, like real, real. And the other side to writing a book, like a real gritty kind of everything book, is there's other people involved. And I don't want to bring other people's lives into my book because it's personal for me, and I don't want to. I don't think it's my right to bring other people's world into my world, even though they were part of it. I don't know. There's got to be a way around it. I probably need a bit of advice somewhere. So another way of doing it would be to focus on a specific subject. Something like the comedy years, or the Talking about bipolar, talking about not recovering, not suffering, but coping, dealing, whatever. Just like, because I think anyone that has any kind of I don't know what the right one, I'm trying to think, an illness, let's say, of any kind, physical, whatever it is, mental, physical, anyone that has had to deal with that for a long time, even though they might not believe it, even though they might not feel it, they are successful. They are a success. They are a big success. Because what they've done is amazing. And as I said, they might not agree with that. They might not believe that. They might think I'm just talking absolute ping pong. But the fact is, if you've got through many years of dealing with something that's out of your control, physically or mentally, within your own body, that is, then you're successful. Yeah, it's a different type of success to being the top of your chosen profession, like being the top lawyer or being the best tennis player, or it's a different ball game, isn't it? I mean, being a lawyer and being a tennis player is a very different ball game, literally. But I think tennis players are more into, lawyers are more into squash. I never understood squash. I've seen it in TV shows and movies, it's never about the squash. It's just like a conversation that might be going on while two adults are playing squash. Now, is it as simple as there's a wall that goes all the way around basically there's a wall that goes all the way around the squash court that you're in, one room, and there's a line that goes around the midsection, and basically one person hits the ball above that line, and then the next person has to hit it above the line, but they can hit it on any wall. Is that really all the game is? And the ball can, I think the ball can bounce once, probably, like with tennis and ping pong and table tennis, whatever. But if they hit it below the line, they're out. They lose that game or lose that set. And if they don't get the ball in time, because it's quite a fast game, then they lose it then as well. So is that, anyone tell me, if you I'm literally on ChatGPT and I could ask. I don't care that much enough to actually ask it and just type a sentence in. Yeah, I'll spend 5 minutes explaining that I'm not sure if I understand how something works, but this is what I think it might be, although it might not be. It could have been sorted really easy. I mean, there was a phrase I went through, and some friends did as well, when we're sitting in a room and someone would come out with something, a question, a broad, general question, and the answer would be Google it. Instead of spending 2 hours arguing over who's right and who's wrong, Google it. But then I realised some people don't even believe the facts. They were saying, no, it happened here, it happened this year, it happened in 1989, not 1983, it was 1989. and you Google it, and it says 1983. Nope, I don't care what Google says, it's 1989. Okay. In the end you say, look, here's my birth certificate, I was born in 1983, see? Don't care, it was 1989. I know my own date of birth. So let's have a look what else it says here, because this is a little bit annoying really, because really I was asking for it to write me a book and it hasn't. Your options going forward, very important. Option A honest approach recommended. Write the school chapter. I'm not interested in the school chapter. Thanks, Vin. I'm interested in like 500 pages. 500 pages. 500 transcripts. 600 plus hours. I did not spend the whole time talking about school. I know I didn't. A long stretch of time remembered only as... Option B, prompted memory work. If you want stories, I can gently help you excavate them by asking things like one specific classroom, one teacher, one moment. No, it's obsessed with school. I don't want to... What the being naughty means in your material accurately. When you say you were naughty at school, you don't describe bad stuff. You describe playing up, messing about, not engaging, not doing what you were supposed to be doing, talking instead of working, drifting. So naughty in your case clearly means resistant, disengaged, bored and uncomfortable, not malicious. I was rarely malicious. Extended prose. Faithful, not fictional. Here's an expansion that stays completely honest to your transcripts and tone without adding scenes you haven't described. Wow, okay. So this is what it's taken, and it's written this little bit about me. Interesting. So I've described myself as being naughty at school, but that word doesn't really fit in the way people usually mean it. I wasn't aggressive or cruel. Sorry, I was a bit sometimes. I wasn't setting fire to bins or throwing chairs. I did throw chairs. Bins, setting fire to bins. No. Although in the science lab we had Bunsen burners, and we also had paper towels, and we had a sink. So it's kind of, I don't know, I'm not responsible. If they're going to put all that stuff together in one room and then put a bunch of teenagers in there, I was just there, not really taking part. I played up in small ways. I messed about. I talked when I was meant to be listening. I drifted. I avoided doing what I was supposed to be doing, not out of rebellion exactly, but out of disconnection. Boredom, complete boredom. School felt like a place where I was meant to slot into something that didn't suit me. Lessons moved on whether I understood them or not. Very slowly. I'm adding this little bit. Wow, those lessons were so slow. I'd look at the clock and literally, I'm sure during one geography class, the big hand started to go backwards. I swear it did. I was supposed to be doing, school felt like a place, blah, blah, blah. Expectations were there, but they never really landed. So I filled the space by talking, joking, and distracting myself and others. Yeah, fair enough, I think. Looking back, I don't think I was being naughty so much as uncomfortable. I didn't know how to engage with what they were asking of me, and I didn't have the language to explain that. acting out was easier than admitting I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, that is insightful. I really didn't. I'd be sitting there and I don't know, sometimes, like for me, if I was going to study a subject, I study that subject. I go all out and I read books, and I like a lot of books on a thing. So, give an example. About 2003/2004, maybe 2003, I did because I was going through a lot of anxiety stuff, and I did a survey online, and it was an Asperger's questionnaire. I know it's not really classed that anymore. It's now the autism spectrum. It's not. They don't use that term anymore. Asperger's or Asperger's in the UK anyway. And I came up very, 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 very high on that questionnaire, especially when it comes to communication and being transfixed on one thing, having like my own special interest that I can't sort of move away from, being obsessed with stuff like that, and not enjoying being around people and enjoying my own company more than other people, and just basic stuff that just seemed to fit really into, or not liking loud noises, so being quite hypersensitive to sound, which I am a bit. But so I thought, oh, this is interesting, because I was just trying to figure out, what's going on here with me. And I think I was still working as well, so this is 2003. So I just bought loads of books on Asperger's and read them. Went on YouTube, looked at videos on the thing, and just learned as much as I could about the subject. And just because I wanted to learn, I wanted to find out. And it's weird because I don't know, it's hard to explain what I'm trying to explain. Sometimes I don't know how much of who I am is who I am. This is who I am now. I think perhaps the only time I'm 100% myself is when I make a podcast like this. Because I can be honest. And by that I don't mean be open to everything, because I'm not going to tell you every single weird thing that I think about, or because no one needs to hear that. But I would say that I'm not masking. Maybe I mask with humour sometimes, but generally, and it's a weird thing because I don't feel judged, and this is probably the most judged I could be. Because you imagine, I'm making recordings, doing this for a long time. I've given so much information about myself, my personal internal world, what's going on inside my mind, and some of the stuff that's happened in my life and how I feel, and especially when it comes to sort of mental health issues. I could just be really having people coming online and give me hassle, and I don't get that. So I'm more likely to get judged making these recordings, but I don't feel judged when I make them, and when I upload them I don't even consider that I'm going to get judged. But when I'm in a conversation with someone, I do feel that I'm kind of potentially going to get judged, you know. And I just notice so many people seem to have their guards up, and when they let their guards down, they're different. They're so different when they or let that mask slip. And it's never genuine in a bad way. It's not like they're really lovely and then they let their guard, their mask slip, and they're not such a nice person. Although I have seen that, but it's usually, it's not even the other way around. It's just there seems to be sometimes a sense of emotional disconnect until the mask slips or drops, or they take it off, and then you realise, like, they can just be themselves. They're not going to be judged. And maybe that's a universal thing. We don't want to be judged. Now, the argument for this is everybody judges is natural, which is true. It is a natural thing to judge someone. We judge ourselves. It's natural. But I think in the same way, we're not really judging. When we judge someone, it's not really them that we're judging. It's the facade of them. It's them with their guard up, with their mask on. That's the version of them that we're judging. So we're not really judging that person. Because when someone's sitting in a room and they're opening up about how they're feeling, and they're being really honest, and they're being really open, genuine, how can you... I don't know how to judge someone like that. It's like, if I see someone, you see someone lying on the floor waiting for an ambulance. Maybe they've taken a fall. They've fallen over. They're waiting for an ambulance. Who's judging that person? Probably nobody. Once they realise that the person's waiting for an ambulance, maybe they're wrapped up in a, I don't know, I was going to say cushion on their face. No, but they've got people around them helping them. You know, they've got a blanket on them. No one's going to judge them, I don't think. But if that person just laid down on the floor, just goofing around, getting in the way of other people trying to walk on a pavement, they're going to be judged. They're probably going to be walked on as well, if they live around here. But they'll be judged. But if you know that person is maybe fallen over and hurt themselves, and they're waiting for an ambulance to come and help them, no one's going to think, well, they're in the way. I don't think, anyway. I'm pretty sure that... So it's kind of like their mask slips off because they don't have to put on any airs or anything because they're waiting for an ambulance. They can just be themselves. And the people around them, their masks fall off because they don't have to be judgmental, because the situation is obvious what's happening, and that natural empathy, that caring, sympathy, love, whatever you want to call it, feelings, comes out. Because when we see someone on the floor like that, it could be someone that we care about. It could be someone, you know, I see someone on the floor, an elderly person, even though they might be my age now, I still think, well, that could be my nan. You know, that even though they might be younger than me, that could be... You know, I remember once I did actually lay down with someone who was on the floor because she was crying and shaking, and the thing she wasn't bothered with so much about her leg. She was worried about people looking at her. That's what she was concerned about. And I realised I might have just gone back on something I just said. Didn't I say the person wouldn't have their... Mind you, if you're worried, then you're not going to have your... Yeah, you wouldn't have your mask up on, would you, if you're worried about what other people are thinking? Because that's kind of you, isn't it? So she was crying because she was like, oh, people are all staring and they're going to stare at me. And I said, are you in pain? She said, not really. My hip hurts, but, you know, I'm comfortable. She had a blanket on. She had a cushion underneath her head, not on her face. And I thought the only thing I can do here is get it so people weren't looking at her. No, I didn't do a striptease or anything like that. So I thought I'm going to lie down next to her. So I got off my donkey and I lied down next to her, and she was laughing. She was laughing for, you know, until the ambulance got there. She couldn't stop. She found it hysterical that I was doing that, and I was just talking to her and making fun of her husband, because he was there as well, but he was sitting down on a bench, and we were just chatting, and she was absolutely, honestly, I think probably the best pain relief there could have been is laughter, I think, in that situation. But if anyone was judging, they weren't judging her. They were judging me, probably thinking, oh, he's trying to get attention. I don't think I was. I don't think it was about, oh, look at me, everyone. I'm lying down in the street. Because it isn't something that I would normally do. Right, I just got interrupted by Vinny barking. So I can't even remember what I was talking about. Something about a donkey or something, I think. So yeah, oh yes. Anyway, oh, this book. So it was years. I was there for years. Okay, acting out was easier than admitting I didn't know what I was doing. I was there for years, physically present, but mentally somewhere else. I must have learnt something. You can't spend that long in a place without absorbing bits of it. But very little of it felt like it stayed with me. Mostly, I learnt how to get through the day. So everything above is consistent with your transcripts, consistent with your voice, consistent with the absence of dramatic stories. What are you saying? So now it's telling me that none of my stories are dramatic. Really? I would argue against that my stories are possibly the most exciting stories that anyone's ever told ever. Why this book works for you, why this works for your book, this kind of expansion. It turns a single sentence into meaning. It explains behaviours without excusing or exaggerating. Avoids fake nostalgia or false drama. It feels honest, adult and reflective. It also explains why there aren't vivid school stories. I've got okay, maybe not vivid, but I've got school stories. I could tell school stories from here to... Well, I could tell some stories. I don't know how long for. I'll show you. That's it. Next week, I'm going to just do school stories for the whole of the week. How about that, Mr. ChatGPT, or Mrs. ChatGPT, or Ms. ChatGPT? If you want, next we can expand I didn't fit in, or expand I didn't learn much, or expand school knocked my confidence. And I wrote down, can you write a short book based on different periods of my life, based on the information I said in transcripts, verbatim. Use all 500 transcripts. Each chapter is 2 pages long. Start with birth and end up as middle-aged with Vinny. Please only use factual things I've said, including any jokes I've told. Yeah. You know, I like my little jokes, yeah. I can do this, but I need to be very precise and honest with you before we proceed. None of the jokes are funny. Rude. No, it says, because what you've asked you for sits right at the edge of what's technically and ethically possible in one go. Ethically? Please read this carefully. It matters for the integrity of the book. All short book using all 500 transcripts. Possible. Okay, it's possible. A book with multiple life periods, 2 pages per chapter. What verbatim means in practice. I know what it means. Or maybe I don't. Apparently there's a critical distinction we must keep clear. Verbatim source material, your exact words. Yeah. Editorial stitching. Minimal connection sentences so it reads as a book. Yeah, but I'm thinking, like, if I've said something, keep that in. You know? If I said a sentence, like, look out, there's a walrus. And then you can kind of, like, keep that in that order. If you turn it to, there's a walrus, look out. I suppose that could work as well, couldn't it? Yeah, I suppose. But it's okay, that's not a good example. If I only use raw verbatim quotes with zero stitching, the book would read like a transcript collage, not a book. The correct approach, and the one I recommend, is every fact, event, etc. verbatim. Connecting sentences, neutral, factual, non-inventive. No new memories, no invented scenes, no emotional colouring you didn't express. This is how all history books are written. Yeah. So chapters is let me bore you to life. A working title, let me bore you to life. Okay. Does that work? I don't know. It wasn't my idea. Chapters, chronological, factual. My idea for a book would be Life of a Bipolar Hypnotist, or I'm pretending to think. Birth and early life, what you've actually said. Childhood and early awareness. School years. What are you doing? School years already mapped. Leaving school and drifting. Number 5, early childhood, or adulthood, sorry. Number 6, mental health and identity. Number 7, discovering voice and recording. Number 8, podcasting beginnings, 2006 onwards. Number 9, life routines, boredom, humour. Number 10, loss, reflection, middle-aged. And number 11, Vinny and the quieter present. That doesn't, again, that's not something I would say, is it? How are things now? What a much quieter present it is. A much quieter present. No. Although it is quieter than it was. They've missed out. I mean, I could do a whole chapter on Andre. I could do a whole chapter on my nan. I could do a whole chapter on various different things. Hypnosis. There's a lot of different things I could do a whole chapter on. I could do a whole book on just one of each of those things, probably. But I might have to write it from scratch and not get any information from my podcasts, which is a shame. So, it's going to do it now. It's going to write this book. Add a clear book. Okay. Next step. I wonder if I'm just going to see if it's actually come did they actually? My life. Oh wow. Okay. So you want to look at this? I'm going to read this out. My life, a quiet beginning. My life did not have a quiet beginning. That's the weird thing about it. I have spent a large part of my life listening. It's kind of fair, I guess. Listening to other people, listening to silence, listening to spaces between thoughts. It's not how I talk, is it? But I guess I do that when I meditate. But anyway, this book is not written because my life is extraordinary in the usual sense. It is written because it is honest, and because there is value in quiet stories that don't shout for attention. Quite like that. I've spoken for years into microphones, often late at night when whispering, often hoping that someone somewhere might feel a little less alone. I sound lovely, don't I? Don't I sound nice? In many ways, this book is an extension of that same intention. Not to impress, not to persuade, but simply to share. So these are not my words, okay? This is ChatGPT, taken from podcasts, transcripts, and put it into this. This is not a story of constant success or neat resolutions. It's a story of learning how to sit with discomfort, how to survive loss, how to find purpose in unexpected places, and how boredom, of all things, became a form of kindness. Okay, I don't know about that. I don't write this as an expert on life. I write it as someone who kept going. Yeah. Perhaps that should be the title. I kept going. Chapter 1, early years. So some of this, see, it's got stuff that it remembers, but I was born in Enfield, London, in the summer of 1970. True, I don't remember that day itself, of course, but I've always liked knowing the date. It says there's something grounding about numbers and calendars, about placing yourself somewhere specific in time. Now he's writing about me, ChatGPT, and that is what I do. I've got everything mapped. Not everything, but I mapped things out by where I was, what month it was, maybe what year it was, what was going on at the time, and I've always liked knowing the date. Oh, okay. There's something grounding about numbers and calendars. I don't know about numbers, but yeah. I don't know, it's caught me by surprise there. About placing yourself somewhere specific in time. It reminds you that your life, however confusing it may feel, does have a beginning. Yeah, I just like mapping it out. For me, there's the beginning. There's the London years, like the first 2 years of being alive. Then there's the Newcastle years, which would be the next 4 years, or maybe 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, maybe next 3.5 years, Newcastle, and then Southend, 1.5 years probably, and then moving to my dad's. So as I split in those different periods up, I don't have specific dates for those. Maybe that's what it is, because I don't have anyone to tell me anything about my childhood. My nan was the only one to do that, and there's nobody to say like, oh, do you remember when you was 8 and this happened and you set fire to your nan's wig, and nothing like that. No happy stories. There's just no stories, full stop. And it's weird. It's almost like it didn't happen. It's like I didn't grow up. If you met me, you'd probably agree. Yeah, you definitely haven't grown up, you immature little seal. But I remember my stepmum, my first stepmum. I saw her in hospital when my little brother had appendicitis. This was, blimey, probably 30 years ago, 25, 30 years, 25, I don't know, a long time ago. And we went up there, I went up there with my dad to see my little brother, because he was ill. It wasn't just a standard thing. And he was okay, he recovered and everything. So, and then she comes in to visit her son, of course. Didn't know that we were going to be there. It's a little bit awkward. And then she sort of spoke to me and reminded me of some stuff that happened when I was a kid, and like just in 5 minutes I was reminded more about my childhood than I have been in the last 40 years. Like there's no one remembers anything that happened when I was a kid except me. Probably, I mean, if I don't speak to my older brothers, but if I did, there'd be that probably commonality. We could sort of discuss, oh, do you remember when that happened? And, you know, so yeah, there would be that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's why I do what I do. Not the only reason, but maybe that's why I'm kind of keeping albeit a verbal journal. Because this is a verbal journal. I know I don't always talk about what I've done on the day that I'm making the podcast. But I might talk about today in a month's time or a year's time. I might talk about this period in 3 years' time. So it'll all be talked about eventually. It's trying to organise it into a way that makes it easy to manage. You still haven't eaten your dinner, Vinny. You're coming over to me. I know you're hungry. So why don't you eat your din-dins? Why don't you eat your num-nums? You're hungry, aren't you? Yeah? I know you are. I know you are, but I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, Vinny. You're hungry, little boy. And you've got a right to be hungry. But at the same time, I've got a right to not keep chucking your food away. And to not give you those TREEEEEEEEEEEEETS. He even knows what I'm saying. I'm spelling it out wrongly, and he even knows, don't you? He's licking my nose now. The fact that he's licking my face means two things. Firstly, he's absolutely desperate to get a treat. He's that desperate to get a treat. Or secondly, he's just trying to get the taste. He's been licking himself and he's trying to get the taste out of his mouth. He's just trying to cleanse his palate. He is rude sometimes. I did say to him, "Why do you lick my face?" He said, "Because it makes my bum taste nice." It's wrong, Vinny. Stop it. Can't say stuff like that to me. I'm your daddy. Comparing my face to your bum is not fair. It's not. Don't look down at the carpet. It's not fair. Okay, so I'm reading this. Where am I going? Yeah, I grew up with brothers. See, I've got a joke for that. Well, it's not particularly funny, but I said when I was born, I had two brothers, and then I say they were both older than me. Obviously, but just, I've had that in my bag for about 20 years, that little one line of silliness. So I grew up with brothers, noise, movement, and the kind of everyday chaos that feels normal when you're inside it. Childhood memories rarely arrive in neat order. They come as fragments. The feel of carpets, the sound of television, the smell of kitchens, the strange intensity of small worries that felt enormous at the time. No, that's wrong. They come as fragments, the feel of carpets. Okay, this is going to sound really weird, but I only remember the feel of one carpet. And that was these carpet tiles that were upstairs, and they were horrible. Ugh. Walking on them were horrible. But that's the only feeling of carpet that I remember. The idea, yeah, I don't remember that. And what other things did it say? The sound of televisions. Okay, the only time I can really remember the sound of a television when I wasn't actually watching a television would have been when I was upstairs in bed and the TV was going and they were watching TV. But I didn't have that memory until right now. It's not something I really think about, apart from when they were watching a movie that I wasn't allowed to watch. Although I could watch it when I got home from school on my own. Like, thanks. So yeah, at least I think I was allowed. The smell of kitchens. So this is talking about my early years as a child, yeah? So, my early years, I don't remember kitchen. There's only one kitchen memory. No, two kitchen memories. There's one kitchen memory in Newcastle in the block of council flats. In the council flat we lived, high up. One of my mum's friends, male friends, had a crab. Didn't have crabs. He had crabs, but he had like in a bag, like live crabs, that is. Like crabs, not crabs. So he put one of the crabs on the floor and it was crawling towards me. And I was scared and I picked a knife up and I started, defending myself with the knife. And they found it hilarious. The only other I've got memory of, because we used to be on our own at the weekends, me and my two brothers. My oldest brother used to look after me and my other brother, which is weird because he was only about 8 years old himself. And I remember he was in the kitchen one day and he was looking for something to feed us with, give us some food. And I think he ended up going and getting some fish and chips, and I had fish cakes. Yeah. I don't know if I went with him. I can't remember. He was like an adult to me. He was 4 years older than me. And I looked up to him like an adult, like a father figure. He's 8 years old, man. He was 8 years old. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's crazy, I tell you. So that's the only really two memories I've got of the kitchen, of when I was very early years. But this other, I've got memories of kitchens in different places I've lived. Okay, so what else have we got? Kitchens. Where did it? Language. Oh, bloody. Okay, here we go. So here we go. So often slightly apart from things. Alright, so it's changed it again now. But this strange intensity of small worries that felt enormous at the time. I'll be honest with you, I felt the intense, but I never felt the small. I mean, in reality, a lot of the stuff probably wasn't, but all felt big during and after. Never really felt small because of how I felt. Even early on, I was more observant than participant. So that's true. So it's taken stuff out of my podcast that's obviously, that I don't know. I don't think I've ever mentioned that, but I am more observant than participant. I noticed moods, yeah, kind of had to really. I noticed silences. I noticed how people would be physically present, yet emotionally elsewhere. I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't have language for any of that back then. I just knew that the world felt louder to some people than to others, and that I seemed to experience it differently. So I don't know what level of awareness I had at that time. It was survival, wasn't it, I suppose. School passes school, as school does for many people. Days are blurred together, moments of connection, blah blah, moments of discomfort and long stretches of simply getting through. I wasn't particularly remarkable, and I wasn't invisible either. I existed somewhere in the middle, learning quietly, often inwardly, how to make sense of things. Yeah, that was the thing I was trying hardest, trying to figure out. So I'd be in a classroom, for example, studying fractions, and trying to figure out why I'm in that classroom being taught about fractions. And I couldn't really see the point in it. I can see the point in basic fractions, of course. A quarter or a third, and it's very basic, isn't it? Basic fractions is very, very simple. But then you go deeper, and like, why would I need that stuff? And I never have, ever. Because I didn't go into science, I didn't go into mathematics, I didn't go into engineering where maybe I would need that stuff. I worked in a chip shop when I left school. Not that that was my plan, but and sometimes I think, why am I here? How am I benefiting from this? Why? Why is the teacher there? Why has she decided to do this? She clearly doesn't like it. Especially when I steal her stuff. I used to steal stuff, not badly. That might seem weird. So one of the things I used to like to do when I was at school, especially to the maths teacher, because we didn't get on. So I'd walk up and I'd ask a question, pretend, and I'd make it a question that got her interest, because it was almost like, she thought I was showing interest in what she'd been talking about, or what she'd been lecturing about, whatever. So I'd ask a question, and she'd turn around and point to the blackboard, and I'd steal something from her desk, like just a purse, or no, like it might just be a ruler, or a punch, a hole puncher or something like that, or a calculator. Just something basic, but something that she uses. And then she realises that she's lost, or a piece of chalk which she was using, and she's like, where's my chalk gone? And you start going, oh, everyone, where's my chalk gone? And no one, like, I don't know. And she'd be getting all, I shouldn't have done it, but I was just trying to while away the time, really. And then I'd go back and I'd say, ask for help with something, and I'd put the chalk back. Or what I would say is, oh look, the chalk's there, miss. And I point, and it'd be like on the, the thing where the chalk holder underneath the blackboard used to be, if you ever used a blackboard or a whiteboard. Even though she'd already looked through it there, like, it's there all the time. Or look, it's in your hair, it's on your head. That didn't work so well. Look, it's inside your packed lunchbox. That didn't really. It has to be, if you're going to do that, you have to do it so it's somewhere that is kind of, how did it get there? But it's possible. If you say, oh, look, it's inside your car, miss. Look, it's on the dashboard. That is not going to work, because how the hell would it got into the car? You know what I mean? Just That was a little thing I used to like to do. It was never really stealing. It was just I used to think of it as magic. Maths magic. That's what I used to call it. I mean, technically it was, I suppose, just stealing, but I didn't think of it that way. I was so bored. I didn't know that this tendency to look inward would one day shape my work, my voice, and the way I connected with others. At the time, it was just how I was. I mean, technically, this isn't my work. It is my work, but I mean, I'm not getting paid for it, but it's my life. My voice. In some ways, I think to myself, when did I really discover my voice? I know that there might be some people thinking, what do you mean discovered your voice? You just talked and it was there. No. And not how it sounds, but when did I discover? The first time I discovered my voice. Actually, the first time I discovered that maybe I had something was in a class. It was a lecture. Something, I don't know what it was. And I started being cheeky to the teacher, and I kept talking back, and they kept talking. I think they were telling someone else off, and then I shouted something out, and it made some people laugh. And then she came back to me, or he came back to us. I said something again, and it made some people laugh. But there was a girl particularly that was laughing, and she said, keep going, it's funny. And I thought right then and there that, oh, this is interesting. Because when she laughed, her boobies wobbled. And that's when I was 15, 16, whatever. And I can't believe I said that out loud. But anyway, I thought, maybe this is what I've been missing, because I didn't have any women or girls coming after me for my looks or my personality. So I thought, maybe if I could make people laugh, perhaps, because I didn't have much contact with women or girls at all when I was a kid at school. All my friends were boys, so I really had one or two good friends. But to be fair, it might not have been the last year of school. It might have been the second year of school. That's when I became naughtier. This is me talking, by the way, not the thing. But the second time I noticed my voice was in about 1989. It was a summer, and I was staying in this. I was sleeping on the floor of a friend's flat, and I remember I bought myself a pad because I was sitting on the sofa during the day, and I kept thinking to myself, I want to buy myself a pad, like a refill pad, and write what I'm thinking. Because I knew I was thinking stuff, but I wasn't necessarily good at remembering what I'd thought about. And then I thought, I kept having these thoughts, I'll get myself a pad, and I'll be tomorrow. And then I got one, so I got a refill pad, and I do believe it was yellow or orange cover, or blue, I think it was orange. And I had a pen, it wasn't big, it was, I forget the name of it, but it was like a nice like felt pen, but they're quite popular still. Although they're quite hard to get the lids on now, because it's all about using less and less plastic, isn't it? So before they used to have big old lids and you could chew on them and it was brilliant, but now, and they'd click as well when you put them on. Now, you push, you don't even know if it's on or not, there's no click. So you take your hand away, the lid might fall on the floor. Or it might be stuck to the indenture of your hand because you've been pushing. It's kind of strange, really. So eventually I bought a book. Now, this was within about a week or two. Bought a pad, bought a pen, and I just started writing. Whatever was on my mind, I started writing. What I was thinking about, it was anything and everything. It was a journal, but at the same time, I was sort of thinking up some jokes that weren't very good. It was just a bunch of stuff. And that pad travelled around with me during '89. I took it to France. So I was writing in France into that pad. And I brought it back. And I had 3 or 4 dresses that I had that pad. And then, I don't know how, but I moved. I know how I moved, but I moved to London. And somehow, I moved out of this room. I managed to leave the pad there. I don't know how I did it, but I did. And I never saw it again. And there was probably about 6 months worth of material, or 6 months of worth of me writing in it. So it's pretty good, like 150 pages, nearly 200 pages. And so a 200-page pad. So I never saw it again. I went round the address when I moved back, but they hadn't seen it or whatever, so fair enough. And then in the April 1990, so what I'm saying, I felt like I found my voice. I started to write and, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I feel about that. Because I didn't really have a sounding board with another person, because I was the young one. I was the kid. I was 18. And I was being treated like a kid by everyone else. Everyone I was around was older than me, talking down to me, and pushing their views, their opinions. And I didn't really feel that what I had to say was valid. I mean, it was many, many, many years till I realised that what I have to say is as valid as anybody else's views. But it took a long time, many years, to me to get to that point. But I started writing again in April 1990. And there's a part of me would love to go back to that time. You know, knowing what I know now, could make some real changes, you know, big. But then anyone couldn't they? If you could go back to a certain date, knowing what happens in the future, you know, if you didn't make a change and make your future life better, then you've done something wrong, haven't you? You know? So, but then we don't know. It's hard to know, isn't it? Because I don't think anybody's ever done it outside of a movie. So I started writing, and I continued writing my journals all the way through the 90s and the 2000s until 2011, when I destroyed them all. And I had loads and loads of these pads. Just, you know, I was writing a journal, just talking about my life. I mean, I had my whole 20s, and I was writing, talking about what I'd done, where I'd been, what comedy clubs I'd gone to, where I'd been working, probably relationships, friendships, what's in the news, all kinds of stuff like that that's gone. I destroyed them, but I think it helped me to kind of find my voice a bit, but at the same time, I don't know. And even when I started doing podcasts and started doing recordings in 2006, I used to do an update videos where, you know, then ended up being called Jason Chats, where I was talking. So that was probably when I first really got in touch with being able to express myself. But it kind of felt that my voice, I didn't discover my voice fully. So ironic, I'm saying discover my voice, and my voice is going. All this talking, 60, over 2 hours so far I've been talking. So discovering my voice would be probably when I first started doing these Let Me Bore You to Sleep podcasts. And it was such a, I don't know, it's something happened. I suppose because a lot of things have happened during this period. You know, since 2018 to now, quite a lot of things have happened in the world and in my life and stuff like that. And just, I think maybe I just got to know myself a bit better, a little bit more than before, maybe. So let's have a look through this. It says chapter 1. So it's rewritten it now. I was born in Enfield, London in 1970. I've mentioned my date of birth many times over the years, partly because dates feel solid and dependable. They don't change. No matter what else happens, the starting point stays fixed. That is true. See, regardless of what kind of maybe becomes fuzzy in my memory, I know that in 1976 at least in 1976, I was living in Nazareth House in Southend, which is a children's home run by Catholic nuns. I know 1,000,000% that's where I was living until the summer 1977. I also know I was born in Enfield in 1970. I know I lived in London, moved to London in 1991. So there's certain things were just, you know, by dates. January 1991, I moved to London. I came back, moved away from London in September 2001. Like, it's a definite month, a definite year, and that definitely happened because I started working in insurance. So all these little bits that I kind of put together. This is me talking by, not the book. So maybe there is more. Maybe this ChatGPT's noticed from my transcripts that I mean, I do have a friend that makes fun of me. So when we're talking about something and I say, November 2002, this happened, and she like laughs because it's like, people have said that to me. How do you remember the date? And I said, well, I don't remember the date. I don't remember the exact day necessarily. I mean, I might remember if it's a Sunday, or if it's a particular day of the week. But I don't remember necessarily the date itself, but the month and the year. But sometimes I get it wrong, which is fine. I don't mind. In fact, I find it quite funny because most of the time I'm right when it comes to my own life. So when I get something wrong, I'm thinking, wow. You know when you've never been wrong before, it's a weird feeling. No, I don't know. Being around other people was normal. Being around other people was normal. What the heck? What? Being around other people was normal. I don't remember being born. Being around other people was normal, but even when I noticed that I often felt slightly apart from things, as if watching life rather than fully stepping into it. Well, here's something that I notice, and it still happens today. Sometimes, is I'll be talking to someone, and one thing can happen: I lose interest. Another thing that can happen is I don't know what to say next. Maybe that's part of losing interest, or maybe that's part of, I don't know, something else. I also notice sometimes I'll be talking to someone and it's just be going through the procedure, going through the routine of like, yeah, you're right. Oh, it's cold. Yeah, I know it's cold. I wish I'd wear my earmuffs. But the problem with that is I won't be able to hear what you're saying. La, 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 la. General conversation. But then they might say something, like a neighbour recently talked about something that's very personal to her. And she had my complete attention. Like, complete attention. Because it was an actual conversation. It was something that I thought I might be able to help her with, but like most people, she's not taken up my offer for help. I've offered a few people around to help with relaxing or stress relief or stuff like that, but no one ever takes never take me up on it, so it's fine. So, but I was completely engrossed in the conversation. And that sometimes happens when if I hear someone, like I was speaking to someone the other day, and she mentioned that she was like a really good football player when she was younger, like semi-professional almost. And I really said, yeah, I've got medals. She's got trophies at home, football medals, football trophies and stuff. It's like, I can't even imagine her playing football. And the idea that like she was, it's just, I mean, you can't, you can't tell what someone used to do generally by looking at them now. With some people you can get an idea, but I don't know, can you? Not necessarily. Finney's really being grumpy now. You got your dinner, Vinny? Eat that. Yeah. As a child, I spent a lot of time in my own head. My whole life I have. I've joked before that I was very good at being physically present while mentally somewhere else. Yeah, that's why I love television so much. Because I could sit in a room with the family and watch television. And it was a distraction from the others. Or I'd have to read a book, but that was very difficult when there was noise, when there's people talking. When it came to dinner, I just wanted to eat my dinner. I mean, sometimes people were talking, it was interesting, so I'd be listening, but I'd want to finish what I was doing and then go and watch TV or read a book. Ideally be on my own, but I didn't have a TV of my own when I was little. So, well, my first TV I got when I was about 14. So before that I had to go downstairs. Which is weird because I could have bought myself a TV. Because I had loads of part-time jobs from the age of 12. I could have saved up and got a TV set. I just didn't even think about it. It just wasn't something didn't even give it a thought. So, yeah. Maybe I wasn't allowed. Maybe I said, well, I'd like a TV. I want to buy myself a TV. No, you're not allowed to watch a TV. Maybe that happened. I don't know. I mean, although physically they're mentally somewhere else, I think I would say I was always generally aware of my surroundings, aware of who's around. I mean, the only time I can really relax is when I'm in here. I can relax, I can lay down, I can sit in the chair, close my eyes, listen to myself talking, because that does relax me, funny enough. It's weird, but it does. Or listen to some music or something, and I relax. But it's the only place I can really relax is here. Yeah, I used to relax at my nan's. I used to feel very relaxed there. I felt very safe there. Because she was a very strong lady. She used to carry a big hammer around with her. She was a Viking, my nan was. She was a Viking. Huge sword. And, so you should have seen her helmet. Not helmet. What do they call that big hat that they wear? I don't know. But yeah, she wasn't really a Viking. Why am I going down that line? It doesn't say this in the book, by the way. It's me making it up. Television was always there in the background, so was music. They weren't passions yet, more like familiar companions. They filled spaces. They made rooms feel less empty. I didn't know then how important sound and voice would become to me later in life. Only the silence and noise both mattered. Yeah, but not other people's voices. I like listening. I wasn't completely on my own. I did have a friend at school. I had two friends. One main friend through junior school and high school up to kind of the last year of school, and we drifted after the fourth year. And I had another friend that I used to be friends with most of the way through high school, but we became closer near the end of high school and beyond. Like, we used to go out drinking and stuff after leaving school, which I didn't do with the other friend. So But I don't think we had conversations so much. I did with Neil. Neil was the one after the end. He used to be very intelligent, very conversational, and funny as well. So he was cool. Dean, my other friend, again, like I grew up with him. We were just together all the time, so funny and stuff. But we both made each other laugh. But he was, I don't know. We drifted anyway. As I said, we drifted near the end, and we just wanted different things. I remember him saying to me, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you." Oh, so yeah, it wasn't the most deepest relationship, like verbally. I don't think it was. Yeah, I'm not sure if we ever had a sensible conversation the whole time we were friends, which I kind of liked in a way. But for me, I didn't need. I tell you what, I used to like watching stuff that was really serious on telly. And I think that's why I quite like some of that stuff. Like, I used to like watching MASH when I was 15. And MASH was not aimed at a 15-year-old. MASH was adults. It was an adult show. Although it was funny, but it was for adults. And I was although I did like kids programs as well, I did quite like the adult stuff. Especially stuff that was a bit challenging, mentally challenging. Not really early life, but when I was kind of in my... Probably not when I was 8 or 9, but 10. I like things like Heart to Heart and Charlie's Angels, because although it was action, also you needed to understand what was going on, and it was... Columbo was always on, the early 80s. So Columbo, you needed to kind of... Although I don't think shows like that are really for kids, but I'm pretty sure they used to be on in the afternoon on a Sunday. There weren't Passions yet. More like... So there was Passions when I was a kid. I mean, this is childhood, so I don't know where it's aiming at. But I had a lot of Passions when I was a kid. Like, complete... compulsions, whatever you want to call it, things that I just couldn't stop doing. Obsessions, maybe that's the best word. The first one, it was kind of like an obsession, but it wasn't, and that was astronomy. So I had a telescope and I was reading books all the time on stars. And so even then, I didn't tell anyone else, but I was very well aware that I didn't understand hardly anything I was reading. Never told anyone else. But it didn't stop me generally I would rent the books out of the library, and I'd get bought books for my birthday and for Christmas and stuff. And they're all really, really technical, advanced. Like, it's hard to get an unadvanced astronomy book. Because I was reading books on black holes and wormholes and, just really advanced stuff. And I didn't understand hardly a thing that I was reading. But I kept going. But I was aware of it. I was aware that I didn't really know what I was doing. Didn't know why. It felt good. It felt nice. When I was reading, no one was bothering me. No one was trying to talk to me. So maybe that's another thing. if I could read a book that I didn't really understand, because I didn't need to understand it, because I didn't really need to give it that kind of concentration. And it would have been hard to do that with other people in the room, nattering on and on and on about stuff and arguing and all that stuff. So yeah, so I was interested in it. I was interested in the stars. I was interested in the moon and the basic structure of the night sky. I've always loved the stars and stuff. So, yeah, so I was definitely interested, but I wasn't as interested as perhaps my family thought I was. But it's not their fault. I guess I didn't want to admit that I kind of wasn't really. I'd lost interest a little bit. Now, the thing I was really interested in, which no one else really, I don't know if I even told anybody, I became interested in the occult. So I was 13 probably, 14. And this lasted a couple of years. But it wasn't just like occult bad stuff. I was just really interested in, I think it was the second or third year of high school, my RE teacher, well, both my RE teachers, the first one and the second one. So the first one really seemed to like me. The second one really seemed to like me as well. And they're the only teachers, apart from my maths teacher, that I had for, I think, one term before he left in the first year of high school. The only two teachers that ever liked me was my RE teachers, which is religious education. So the second teacher was really, the way she explained stuff made more sense. Well, it made it more interesting. Now, I kind of knew my basic Christian kind of stuff, because so I lived with nuns, and you can't live with nuns without picking some stuff up. I don't mean rubbish off the floor. I'm talking, in church twice a day. I learned a bit about, religion and stuff, and also I'd read the Old Testament when I was about 9 or 10, and I read the New Testament of the Bible once as well, and then I read it again, and I became deeply, deeply involved personally for a period of time, probably in either the first year of high school, because my dad had to have an operation, and I was just reading the Bible all the time, the New Testament. So I got really into that. So when it came to RE, I knew my way around the Old and the New Testament. And that's the only thing we really kind of used to study in the first year or two. And then he retired, I think. But he actually gave me, he played this album, which was Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. And of course it's, from one of the stories in the Bible. And I loved it. And I said, I can't believe it. That's so, I don't know what it was, but it was just, the songs were catchy. I'd never heard them before. This is before it was like obviously it was a play, the original play from the 70s or something, but it was a recording of an album. And he made a copy for me and gave it to me and let me keep it. So, it's lovely, really nice bloke to do that. because I really liked it. I just really liked that album, so I used to listen to it quite a lot at home. So in the third year of high school, I had a new teacher because the other one left or retired for RE. Now, I think she was... I think she was Hindu or Sikh. So this is the first time I didn't know anything about other religions. I guess I knew they existed. I probably saw it on telly and stuff, but up to that point, I'd only ever really heard about, the Christianity and like Old Testament and stuff like that. I suppose Judaism. So, because Judaism is what Jesus learned, wasn't it? He literally was brought up in that faith until he sort of kind of did his own thing. He started his own club, as it were. And it wasn't called. Do you imagine what that would be like? Like, yeah, everyone come round. I'm starting a new club. What's it called? Well, don't judge me for this before I tell you. No, it's okay. What's it called? Well, it's going to be a new religion. What? Yeah. Well, what's it called? Well, I'd rather other people name it, but it feels a bit like self-centered if I name it myself. But someone's got to name it, so I thought I might as well do that. I said, yeah, it makes sense. So what's it called? Christianity. What, named after you? Well, yeah, I'm creating it. Yeah, but you've named it after yourself. Yeah, it's isn't that a bit much? Shouldn't we be the ones naming it after you? Well, ideally, yes. But I'm here, aren't I? I mean, why don't we just pretend? Okay, I'm going to say, here's a religion. You choose the name, nudge, nudge, and, and we'll use that name. How about that? Yeah? What do you think? Anyone? Where you going? Where you going? Why's everyone leaving? Oh, I don't know. It was named after he left, wasn't it? So technically, they were followers of him, but they weren't Chris. I don't know. Who knows? But what she did is she started teaching us about other things, like Islam and Hinduism, which I found very interesting, and Sikhism. I think she was a Hindu. She might be a Muslim, but I found Hinduism more interesting than the others. And Buddhism. Now, I didn't realise that I knew something about Buddhism because I had watched, two things I'd watched on telly. Monkey, monkey, and my name is Monkey, and it'd go into a cloud and stuff, like fly around on a cloud, and that's based on kind of maybe not necessarily Buddhist, but definitely Eastern kind of traditional stuff. And then there was Kung Fu TV show, and Kung Fu was from a Shaolin temple, which is a Buddhist temple, and he learned to do Kung Fu there. So I kind of knew roughly about meditation from what I'd seen on that TV show. So I knew a little bit about Buddhism, and there was and the wise man, what's his name, Grasshopper, he used to, because he couldn't see because he was blind. Like, oh, I got in trouble the other day. Can't say blind anymore. I was talking to my friend, and it was a while back, and I was just like, so her son, and I just said, basically her son was dating someone, and I said, oh, is she blind too? So like your son, is she blind like your son? And she said, you can't say that. That's the wrong thing to say. It's inappropriate. I said, okay, so I can't say that. What should I say? She said, it's hearing impaired. He's hearing impaired. He's not blind. It's like, okay. Is there so much... Everyone has to be so politically correct these days. It's like hard work to keep track of it all. See what I did there? See, this bit is weird. Looking back, my early life wasn't dramatic. Nothing huge happened that I returned to again and again. It was ordinary. This is not true. It is not true. So it's probably because I don't talk much about that stuff. So there's a lot of bits missing out of here which don't make sense. I almost got a little bit annoyed when I read that. It's like, what are you talking about? Nothing happened. Like, everything happened. Anything that could happen happened. It's like everything, every single possible thing that could have happened in my early childhood. It was ridiculous. I mean, I fostered, adopted, lived in a children's home, you name it. What's it? Chapter 2, Childhood Awareness. As I got older, something became clearer to me. Even if I didn't have words for it at the time, I was aware of things. Not in a clever or impressive way. Why not clever or impressive? I can be clever. Just quietly aware. I noticed moods, silences, and the way people behaved when they thought nobody was paying attention. I've often said half jokingly that I was good at drifting. That wasn't something I learnt later in life. It was already there in childhood. I could sit in a room and let my mind wander completely away from what was happening around me. My body would stay put, but my attention would go elsewhere. Yeah, it's just daydreaming. Really? I mean, some would call it daydreaming, some would call it disassociation. It depends. It's I didn't find people very interesting. Generally. It was just, I don't know, not in a bad way, just I've never really had a lot of interest in people. And when I am interested in someone, I'm really interested in them. But it might only be for a specific reason. So it might be because of something that's said, perhaps they're not well, and I want to help them. Or, I suppose, if I'm being honest, it might be because I'm attracted to them. Maybe in the past, maybe I liked them for that reason. But I might not have known anything about them in order to be, to have any other feelings or any other reason to like them. But I have met people that I liked, that I was interested in, but not many. I guess it's just my natural, it's not my natural thing to be interested, because some people like really interested and love meeting new people, and like it's wonderful. I don't feel that way. I don't have that really. I don't. Some conversations just seem pointless, and I guess that's part of the reason why I do these recordings, because I can tap into that pointless conversation side of me. And I've heard so many of these conversations about the weather and about stuff that's of no interest to either of the people that are saying it, I think, sometimes. So I can kind of tap into that part of myself when I do these recordings, mixed with things I am interested in. I wasn't particularly loud or particularly withdrawn. I'm just reading this. What's it saying about... What the heck? I joked before that I could disappear without leaving the room, and that was already true back then. Yeah, I don't think I'm necessarily very noticeable. I think I can blend into the background a little bit. I'm kind of... I don't know. It's all about here. Humour crept in naturally. I didn't use jokes to perform or impress. They're more way of easing tension, including my own. Well, actually, I noticed that people were laughing at me when I was saying stuff that I wasn't trying to be funny. And although it was nice that I was getting positive attention, kind of, at the same time I didn't like it because they were laughing at me. So I thought, okay, the only remedy of this is to purposefully drive it so that they laughed. I created the laughter by saying things that were silly. And I kept that going for a long time. And then I kind of, suppose as I grew older, I was able to change it a little bit and maybe, I don't know, just be myself, which involved part of that. But what I noticed, sometimes people still do the laughing at me bit, and I didn't like that. So I'd say something. I remember when I was a security guard and there was this bloke, another security guard, and I was just saying something serious, you know, just how I'd met someone who went out and, you know, just nothing happened between us on the date, and even though I stayed around her house and all this stuff, and he was basically mocking me. And I was trying to explain that I was trying to be gentleman, you know, and there's something, I don't know, that kind of attitude, or when there've been times when I've just been telling a joke and the person was acting like I was being serious and mocking me. Which doesn't happen that often, but sometimes it happens when I'm just being genuinely myself. If I've got my barrier up, they can't do it, because I'll shoot them down. Well, not shoot them down, but I'll be verbally prepared, you know. But if I've got my barrier down and I'm being absolutely genuine, and then someone says something horrible, yeah, that's. I suppose if you've got your shield down, you're gonna get. There's more chance of getting, you know, feeling it, isn't it? Isn't there? Yes. Oh, yes. Let's have a look. What's it? I've mentioned many times that I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. Even as a child, full stop, there was a sense that everyone else had been given instructions that I'd missed. That's very insightful. Yeah. I did feel like that sometimes, like I don't remember. Well, I've said this a few times over the years. I wasn't at school when they taught us that. I must have had the day off. Because genuinely, like when and why? Why are we supposed to do that? And when did anyone, who mentioned it? Who told anybody that we were supposed to do that? To behave that way? To know how another person thinks? And there's been times when I've actually thought to myself that, like, I'm the only person on the planet who can't read minds. Everybody else seems to be able to read each other's mind, or at least they think they can. And I know I can't. And other times when it feels like everybody knows everything. Everybody's an expert on everything. Everybody knows. No one seems to admit they don't know. I know it's not true, but sometimes it felt like that. And I know that I don't know. I know very little. Compared to the amount of knowledge there is, I know just a tiny, tiny little speck. And when I was younger, when I was like a teenager and when I first started work, people would, like my managers, supervisors or colleagues, work colleagues, they would ask me a question and I'd be honest and I said, I don't know. And that used to be like the worst possible thing to say. And I didn't understand it. Isn't it better just to be honest? I don't know. Rather than, make something up. I had to learn as I got older just to make stuff up. Because people weren't accepting that I was being honest, saying that I don't know. Now, I just say I don't know again. Because nobody can do anything to me about it. No one can say anything. No, like I'm not in a position that I was in before. If I don't know something, I'll say I don't know. I'll move on from there and try to help the person. Maybe we can find out together. Or I can try and help you to find out the answer to that. Back then, I didn't maybe think about that, So it's like, if someone says to me 10 years, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, stop by and say, do you know where this place is? You know how I get to this place? And I'll say, no, sorry. But now I'm more likely to say, wait a sec, if I can see anyone that's close by that I know locally, I can ask them. Or I'll say to them, the best bet is you go around there, go to the petrol station, they'll know, they'll be able to tell you, or just like, be a bit more useful rather than I don't know, which may be honest, but it's not necessarily useful. But I couldn't understand, because, this is when I left school. I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the answers, and I didn't think I was supposed to be lying. And I was amazed at how many people would ask me questions expecting me to know the answer. And also how many of those people that would ask the question that they already knew the answer to, expected me to know the answer. There's something in the garden, can you hear that? Very strange sound. I don't know what that is. And that's with the window closed. Blimey, imagine if it was outside. It'd be huge. Huge, 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 huge. I got a phone call this morning at 11 o'clock. I had no idea who it was. Don't recognise the number. Why is if it? I'm not moaning, but it seems like nobody ever leaves a message anymore on the answer machine. The last time I had a message left on my answer machine on my phone was today at 11 o'clock. No. Okay, it was last month. So forget that though. It was at Christmas. So at Christmas, I got people sort of wishing me happy Christmas stuff. A couple there. But then the one before Christmas, there was 2 in November. 2 in September. Couple in August. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I had quite a few in July, but July was that was when Uncle Sausages was in hospital, so I was getting a lot of voicemail messages and stuff during that time. But generally, if it's a telephone number that I don't know, I'd like them to leave a message, because they might have just changed their telephone number. So if they phone up and says, "Hi, it's Daisy here. Do you remember that you asked me out a few years ago, but I had a boyfriend? Well, I'm free now, and I got your number from someone who was laying down on the floor outside a supermarket, I don't know, whatever, and they gave me your number, and I thought it'd be really nice to take you out, and I've also won the lottery, so I'll pay for everything, and it'd be great, and maybe we can go for a cruise, and I'll buy you a house and everything like that, but you're going to need to call me before the end of the day, because otherwise I'm just going to take off without you, and I realise you're not interested if you don't get back to me." A message like that, I would have heard it, and I'd have called back. And my first question would be, "Who are you? I don't even know who you are. I think you got the wrong number. My name is not Todd." It's like, but it'd be, leave a message, text. This is, because some people, they'll use someone else's phone, won't they? Especially if they think you're not going to answer their phone number. So let's use someone else's phone. And the amount of people who have done that to me, they've had a phone call that they're trying to get through to someone and their phone not going through. So in order to find out if that person's blocked them, let me use your phone, Jay, and I'll phone them up, and if it rings, it means that they've blocked me. But what am I supposed to do? What do you mean? What am I supposed to say to them? "Oh, nothing, I'll have your phone, I'll talk to them." What if they don't answer? What do you mean? Well, if they don't answer, they're going to have my number now on their phone, and they're probably going to call me back at some point, because I'm not going to spend the rest of the year sitting on your sofa. I have my own home. So now someone else has got my telephone number, and I don't know who they are. And she said, "You do know who it is." I said, "I do, I know, but I forgot until this moment that I did." And she said, "You're getting a bit hungry, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And she said, "How long's the podcast been going for? How long have you been talking for?" I said, about 177 minutes, which is 60, 120, just under 3 hours. "Well, no wonder you were hungry. When did you last eat?" I said, "About 2:30. What's the time now?" 9:15. That's like 7 hours ago. "I know. What are you going to do then?" "Well, I'm bringing the podcast nearer to an end, and then I'll have to get some food, because I'm getting a little bit hungry." and she said, "Oh, what one are you doing? Is it hypnosis recording?" I said, "No, it's Let Me Bore You to Sleep." "Okay, what are you talking about?" "Well, it's a Q&A Friday." "Oh, cool. What questions?" Well, that's the thing. I didn't have any questions, so I asked ChatGPT to ask me some questions, 10 questions. And basically, I answered one question, or I started to do, and then I lost track, and I ended up talking about writing a book. And I spent the last 2.5 hours or more talking about writing a book, so I'm not quite sure how that came about, if I'm honest with you. Oh, perhaps you should just have a rest now and go and get some food. I think you're right. That's what I'm going to do. That's nice. Good. Bye. I know you're not using my phone. Oh. So, it is time for me to end this recording and get some food. Although I'm not like super hungry, my tummy is grumbling a little bit. So whatever I do eat, it would taste yummy, yum, 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 yum. So what I would say is thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.